And up until that point, I had never really been asked that question. I said, if I invested $100,000 into my business, I may be able to turn that into 200 or 250 or $300,000 by investing that money. And that would give me more money to buy more real estate as well, too. So if I'm understanding correctly.
So people, and I have a lot of respect for restaurateurs that do make money, because that's a business you really got to watch everything. The profit margins are slim, and didn't work for me.
One thing that we do look at is, like Mike's, a lot of it is retail. So he likes opening the doors and cash flow and making the money right up front. And we've got into other businesses, even like in construction or the industrial business that we're in.
Hi, everybody. Jose Luis Morales here. Welcome back to another episode of the Morales Group Show. Today, we have a very special guest. We have the one and only's Mike and Beau. It's actually our first time having two guests on the podcast in a single room. So we're excited. If you're not following them already on social media, I promise you want to watch them. I just picked up one idea from them in the last week from watching them. They're actually based out of Arizona. They're business owners and they own real estate. So today they're going to be going over a question that a lot of people come to us and ask: should I buy a house or start a business? Like, what do I do first? Is it better to start buying real estate right away? Is it better to start buying a business right away to bring up the income? Do you do both at the same time? Is there a certain time to start a business? They're going to be answering all of that. And then they're going to be giving us advice as to what businesses they're into, what they've learned about being in business, what they've learned about owning property, and just giving us pros and cons. So welcome to the show, Mike and Beau. We're excited to have you guys, and welcome to the show.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
No, thank you. We're excited and appreciate the invite, and thank you very much.
I love it. I love it. Cool. So for our viewers that don't know who Mike and Beau is, who is Mike and Beau maybe individually, and how did Mike and Beau come together to become the Mike and Beau we know today?
All right. I'm Mike Merrigan. This is Beau Court.
So we've been best friends for 20 plus years. Owned individual businesses. We got a bunch of different businesses that we're involved in on our own. And then we always talked business for probably 10, 15 years. And then probably about 10 years ago, we jumped in and started doing some real estate deals together. His brother lives in Texas. And at the time, he had a couple different companies out there that they were running. And they'd bought probably 15, 20 commercial buildings that they rehabbed. And Mike knew that I was always interested in that sort of thing. So we made a trip out to Texas and started investing in rehabbing industrial buildings. So like old style metal buildings and that. And we picked up probably 20 or 30 different properties out there, rolled into Mojave Storage and got probably 40 different complexes of Mojave Storage. Took a run at that. But then from there, it just skyrocketed. We jumped into a bunch of different businesses from Houston Motorsports we're partners in. We got a fabrication company in Texas. Mike owns furniture stores. I'm a general contractor. So we jumped in on some flipping some homes and just doing some custom homework. I built swimming pools as well. We started another pool company out in Texas, got into multifamily together. So just once we jumped into doing business together, just putting all of our heads together, kind of just catapulted our business.
And I started out, after high school, I started out getting business with a family, distant cousin. So I started out with one video store, worked it from open to close, and built up my inventory and was able to open up the second one and third one and whatnot, and got my brother involved in some video stores. So I started out basically with a chain of video stores, small chain of video stores, and
laundromats.
Got into laundromats. My quick story is my wash machine broke. And after I closed we're in a town that has casinos across the river. So the town kind of goes 24 hours a day because of the different shifts and stuff like that. So the laundromat was open 24 hours a day. I go over there at midnight to do my laundry, and it was packed. It was busy. And I just got off work. I go, well, I can't believe it's busy, but I'll try it another time. So went there maybe on a Sunday or whatever, and it was packed. I go home to my wife. I go, here's the deal. I go, we're not fixing the wash machine till we own a laundromat. And it took me about 6 months, which was pretty fast for getting a laundromat from scratch. And so that got me into the laundromat. And then I started doing the vending part of the laundromats, went to all the apartment complexes and RV parks, and had some spill, threw it down, and blew that up, sold that off, and ended up selling the video stores off. And like I said, Beau and I have been friends forever. We graduated from the same high school, and we still live here. And we just seen opportunity in a growing town. And then my brother's in Texas, so we went into the real estate out there and just been grinding ever since, man. But we love what we do, so it's not like going to work.
I love it. You know what I love about it? That it like led to other business endeavors, but before you guys started off the businesses together, you guys were actually friends. So that's awesome to hear. So the question that a lot of people ask, like, and I want to hear your guys' take on it, because obviously you guys own a lot of real estate. You guys own a lot of different businesses as well, too. Like, is it better, like if you've got like 20, 40, 50, $100,000 saved up, is it better to buy a property first, or is it better to buy a business, or is it there not a clear answer and it depends? And if so, what does it depend on?
I would tell him a story about like even like in the furniture business, how you got involved in it. He had a brother that was a great salesman, so he took his brother and implemented him into another into Mattress Max business out in Texas and Houston area, and because he's the best of the best in the furniture business, and learned the business from behind the scenes working for somebody else, and then once you got all the tools put together, then they jumped out and started a furniture business. But so to answer your question, I would say, implementing yourself into someone else's business to learn the craft rather than starting from scratch. You got to have the basis of it. But then once you implement and start that business from scratch, it really works out well. Sometimes you implement yourself into a business and then find the opportunity to take over that business if the opportunity is there.
And if you have that kind of money, the thing is you've got life expenses. You've got car payments, and depends what age you are and where you're at. So I always feel like you got to cover those things. You got to either have maybe a good job, a decent job. You got to have that covered. You got to be able to eat. And so a lot of people get confused the difference between a business owner and investing. So the way we look at it is our real estate is our investment. But he's in the pool business, as a very successful pool company, and he takes the profits from that after he feeds his family, pays the employees and everything, and then we've invested in real estate. For me, I have multiple furniture stores. They're very profitable. I'm able to take the profits from that. So I believe you need to secure that. Even if you're a bartender, hey, great, you've got that covered. Now you're living off your wages or your tips, and you're able to stuff that money aside to get that money you're talking about. You feel comfortable, so now you're ready to start investing. If you were a bartender and you just hated doing it, then I would be saying time to look for a business with that money. But you got to be able to eat, and it's going to take a lot of time and energy in the business or the real estate you get into. So that's where it kind of depends. But you've got to cover your bases. People, and that's what people talk about. Like, hey, I want to get in a business, so I'm going to go buy some real estate. Well, you're not going to live off the cash flow, especially at the beginning. You're going to need multiple buildings that are cash flowing to cover that, and that comes later.
And that's a big misconception, I think, is the fact that, all right, you got a bunch of these buildings and you got a million or more in net equity in it, but the cash flow is not crazy. It's not like a business. It's not. I mean, from experience as well, I'm sure yourself that it's not like a crazy cash flow business. And then even whenever something does cash flow with us, we take that cash as passive income, and then we go out and buy more real estate with it. I don't want to feed my family with that. I want to feed my family with my everyday business, my grind that I do every day. I want to take that real estate, and I just want to just keep on doubling down like you're at the blackjack table. Just keep going.
At one point, we had 20 buildings or whatever, commercial buildings. And when we say buildings, what they are is they're industrial type buildings that people lease them and work in the refineries and the plants south of Houston and stuff. But at one point, I don't know, maybe we had 20, and we were telling a friend of ours that's in real estate and business, and he was asking, well, how's it going? Where are you at? And we go, oh, we're up to 20 buildings. He goes, okay, so you're broke. And we looked at each other and go, yep, you're right. Exactly. We're dead broke. So we had 20 buildings, and we were dead broke. I mean, we're broke because we're taking all that money and buying the next one, and then we're buying ugly buildings, so they need to be refurbished. So it does take time, years, and multiple buildings to do that. We always say, if we stop tomorrow, we're good. The problem is we never stop. So it takes more money to go to the next deal that you're working on. And then your deals seem to get bigger, we love being in business, and we love doing the investments, but they are two different animals. And if you got started too soon in real estate, because you thought that was a business, I'm afraid that you would fall on your face, you would run out of money, or you wouldn't get a tenant right away. A lot of times we get a tenant and we can have it. I mean, we get a building, we refurbish it. Sometimes we rent them before we even close the deal or before we even finish the building. There's other times it's 2 years later and we're looking at each other. How do we miss? We had one that just happened that way, but now we'd have a great tenant in it and we love the building again. But when it sat empty and it looked beautiful, we were so proud. But as soon as it sits there too long, pretty soon you're like, did you pick that one?
Yeah, no, exactly.
So you got to make sure you cover your bases and then get a profitable business, live below your means, and then you'll have extra money. But a lot of people get a business, they get a little success, and then the cars start coming and all the other stuff, and they don't have the money to go to the real estate part. Because if it's a lot of businesses and depending geographically where you're at, maybe you'd be able to scale that business, but it is profitable and you like the game of business. Well, that's a perfect thing to start looking for land to do what you do want to do, you know, buildings, lands, whatever. Huge market out there for anything. So
Yeah. It's funny. I had a friend one time when I was buying properties, because the very first properties that I bought, I would put $100,000 down, and that property would bring me in about $2,000 a month in positive cash flow. So it was about $24,000 a year. And he asked me, he said, look, Jose, do you think that if you invested those $100,000 back into your business, like back into marketing for your business, do you think that you can earn a better return than the $24,000? And up until that point, I had never really been asked that question. I said, you know, if I invested $100,000 into my business, I may be able to turn that into 200 or 250 or $300,000 by investing that money, and that would give me more money to buy more real estate as well too. So if I'm understanding correctly, I think what you guys are saying is that if you buy a property with $100,000, you may only be getting a 24,000 or maybe even less of a return,
yes,
$1,000 a month for that $100,000, which is $12,000 a year, which is not enough to change your life. Instead, maybe invest in a business that has the potential to produce a lot more money, then take the extra money and then start buying real estate with it. Now, if I was going to go with that approach, like, are there certain types of businesses with your guys' business experience that are more lucrative than others, or in easier business than others, or are all businesses the same? And are there certain businesses that you guys would run away from? Like, meaning like, hey, look, like for me, I don't know how I feel about the restaurant business. I go into a restaurant and I look at all the moving particles that exist in a restaurant. I'm just like, man, for the profit margin, I'm just like, that is high risk, high.
Stay
So
away.
I want to get your thoughts on that.
I double down on what you said as far as restaurants. His parents had a restaurant at one time. I had a small restaurant / taco stand that I put a family member into that business after I refurbished the building and did all those things. And what I was really surprised once I got into the business is how the price of the food fluctuates. So the cost of doing business, your food cost fluctuates from avocados go up to the beef. You see the price up on the menu, but every day, every order, it would change what the profit margin was. And the other thing is when you're serving, this is my experience. When you're serving at a restaurant, the cook wants to really take care of the customer. So what's supposed to be a 4-ounce portion of meat turns into a 6-ounce portion of meat. And then who doesn't like to eat food? So everyone that works for you is somehow stealing from you a little bit because they're eating food. It was a dog chases his tail for me. So I couldn't make money doing it. So and I have a lot of respect for restaurateurs that do make money, because that's a business you really got to watch everything, because the profit margins are slim, and didn't work for me.
Yeah, definitely. One thing that we do look at is like Mike's background. A lot of it is retail, so he likes opening the doors and cash flow and making the money right up front. And we've got into other businesses, even like in construction or the industrial business that we're in. It's a long haul. I mean, it's not one of those things that's going to happen overnight. Another thing that we try and look at too is that we've come to the realization as we've gotten older is whenever you do go to start that business or get involved in a business, think about the end game of it. We've always heard that, like, what's your end game plan? And majority of people don't know what their end game plan. This is just what I do. We'll figure it out once we get there. But then to find out, because at some point you may not want to own that business. So is it a marketable business? Can you flip it? Are you going to build equity? Or are you going to burn a bunch of years, and then all of a sudden at the end of the day you go, gosh, I guess it is kind of hard to sell this or sell that. So looking at the beginning to see if the business that you want to get involved in, the passion that you have, is something that you can scale for one, and you can bring people in to take on those roles that you take care of on a daily basis. And then also, is it something that you can turn out, you can sell and draw back in that equity and that hard work that you put in over the years?
Because one thing is like when I had video stores, it back in the day, it was if you just had a good location, it made money. So it was easy to sell those businesses, and people would knock on your door and want to buy them. When I had laundromats, for whatever reason, people come to you and want to buy your laundromat. So that was, and it's I don't know if it's rewarding or not, but it feels good to know you can cash out kind of at any time. And then I've been in businesses that I realized, ooh, this is almost unsellable. So like storage business is another one. I got a phone call already this morning from a guy that's in the business and wanted to buy some storage complexes from us. And I go, you're in the business, so I can't sell you anything because you know what they're worth and I know what they're worth, and we're going to butt heads. So I go, no, I'm not even interested in talking to you about it because I'd only sell you one that I don't want, and you're going to know that it's my dog or whatever. So it's really good to find a business that you'll be able to get out of it, that you'll be able to sell out later. And storage is just, we get cards, letters, phone calls almost daily of someone wanting to buy one of those. So it makes you feel good. You feel a little bit liquid there that you could get out at any time. So being able to identify something that you can get out of feels good. But, well, I was just going to say one thing that's out there that we, he's talking about construction, and I think that is an overlooked market, and you do hear more people talking about it now, but it's the plumbers, it's the electricians, it's the tradesmen out there that we just do anything to get those guys to show up and do jobs for us. And they're very profitable and they're charging good money now. So now a lot of those guys, you look at them, the bricklayers that own the companies, you go, whoa, they're killing it. So there's opportunities for the, blue collar kid or whatever that, you don't have to be, have a lot of money. You just have to have skill, So I like those businesses also. The ones that have kind of been overlooked as, who wants that? Well, now it's so hard to get those trades that people are paying a lot of money for those services and have brought up the value of those businesses tremendously. AC companies, we know a lot of people are making a lot of money that have those type of businesses.
We're coaching a kid right now for 90 days for free that we threw an ad out, and we're coaching him.
22 years old, great
he's like
kid.
22 years old, and he's a badass, man. He's going to be successful, and he's going to make money. He's building decks. But he's doing a great job, and he's killing it. He's got what it takes, and it's a scalable business. And then he also wants to get into doing some real estate. I think that he's on the right track, man. So I love seeing that sort of thing. And I think that's a big thing that, like Mike said, it's out there that, whether it's AC or carpentry or something like that, there's some guys that can actually scale those, blow them up right now. It's hard to find.
Yeah.
They're getting top dollar.
Yeah, I've seen some of those companies earning 40 million in revenue, 50 million, 100 million in revenue. Like I met a guy at a event one time, and he had, I think, like a plumbing, and then I met another one that had an AC business, and they were killing it, 50 plus million in terms of revenue. So with all nice branding and everything, where they had company trucks, which is awesome. And it's good to hear you guys say that. The other thing that I kind of picked up on, if I was understanding correctly, you guys were almost saying, if you're going to get into a business, start with the end in mind. Like, what do you want the business to do at the end? Like, is your exit strategy just to build something for cash flow? Is your strategy to have something that can be sellable and you want to exit at some point? But almost thinking about that when you're starting off the business. So I guess here's a question. If somebody was going to get into business, is it better for them to start their own business, or is it better for them to buy a business? And the reason I'm asking this is I read a book called Buy versus Build. And he said that most of the businesses have a failure rate in the first 5 years that's maybe like 60, 70%. And he said that if you can basically buy a business that has already made it past the 5-year mark, that your chances of succeeding are a lot higher than starting something from scratch. So I wanted to, obviously, I think you guys have done both, right? Where you guys have bought a
multiple
business
times.
and started a business. Which is there either one that is easier, or are they the same thing? And can you guys elaborate on that a little bit?
Go ahead, dude. We've dealt with both,
Both,
man, and the grinds.
and we've had success and failures. One thing, you go online, everyone wants to talk about all their successes. Well, we've had failures, so we're not afraid to say, "Oh, wow, we didn't see that coming," and then scrap that, and we're on to the next. But one of the latest ones is the acquisition we did with a great partner in Houston was with a motorsports store, and it was two sweetheart guys that were at the end of their career. They were motorcycle racer drag strip guys, and they'd run their race, and I think they had 4 locations. This was their mother store that they held on to the last one, and they were done. Great guys. Still, it reminded me of us. They were just old guys that were buddies the whole time, and they couldn't give us the keys fast enough in a positive way. They really loved our business partner, and that was the connection. We didn't know the gentleman, but they had such respect for him, and they knew that they were handing something off to someone that would do a much better job than they could at that time because of social media and because of the way the business had changed. That we took over the keys of that. Phillips there running it, and it's been. I would have hated to start that business from scratch because they already had a good base, and they just didn't have any of the websites or any of the modern way of promoting it, and our partner did. So they left happy, got the price they wanted. We came in, it was a good deal for us, and we have, I don't want to say how we've X times that business, but we have blown it up, and it's because these guys were done with their business. So there's a lot of older people out there that are ready to retire, and under those circumstances, that particular one, by far, I would have hated to start from scratch. The other thing, you couldn't start from scratch because you wouldn't be able to get Kawasaki, Yamaha, Polaris, all because there's already, you couldn't go down the street and do that. So in that situation, it's unbelievable what's happened.
He had a good team in place too, and then he added a few key people to bring in that he knew in the industry as well. So it was a key that we bought a business that was up and running, but we also partnered with a guy that's been in the business for a lot of years too. So we've done the long grind of building culture and everything within your company. He had culture in our company,
and even the pool business that you've blown up. How'd you get into that? Some old guy was ready to quit, right?
He was done. Yeah, we went out and worked for free for like a year for him, and then next thing you know, he wanted to get out. 0 money down. I was young, had a little bit of money in my pocket, and then jumped in and started building it. But here I am 15 years later to get to the point where I'm at.
Right.
But like in this one, I mean, we took over for those 2 guys, or Philip went in and took over for those 2 guys and blew it up. Yeah, just killed it.
And the majority of the storage complexes are old guys that are done, and they don't have a website, they don't have signage, they don't know how to market it, and they don't know how to automate it either. So we have 35 complex, however many it is, we don't have one person sitting at any of them. As soon as there is the old folks living in there, see you later. Automatic gates, cameras, it's all automated. So it's just a different way of doing business. In that situation, I would want to buy something that's already there. In furniture, I started out from scratch, and it was because there was already competition there, and I seen a weakness of how the furniture stores were being operated in our area. No one wanted to sell, so I just started out really small and was able to just continue to grow, and it worked out good. So it can go either way, but there's a lot of opportunity in not having the learning curve if it's already established.
Yeah, and I think it's important. I don't think that people realize that that's also an option for them as well too. Most people think like when they think about a business, they think maybe I have to start it from scratch or I have to do this, not knowing that there's people that are ready to retire that have been in industries and have like a stream. Like I'll give you guys an example. Like, so I used to run my dad's business when I was growing up, and I grew it when I was going to school because I learned some business things. Like I learned about competition, I learned about pricing, costs of sales, and I implemented all that stuff in his business. But then when I got into real estate, it was so much harder for me to start the real estate business than to help grow his business that was already running. And looking back at it now, I think to myself, like, sometimes it's not better to start your own business. It's better to take over an existing business that already has that foundation and then just grow it. So if somebody was starting a business from scratch, or if somebody was looking at a business to evaluate it to potentially buy it, what are the important like business functions that you guys would be looking for? Or what business functions does it take to run a proper business? Like you said something about, like, for example, like their promotion wasn't up to date. What other things are you guys looking for when evaluating a business or even running your businesses on a day-to-day basis? What's the key to running a successful business, in other words?
I would say, as far as when you're looking to buy someone's business, is first thing to do, if it's the first time, is get help. Get help from an uncle like your dad, who get help from someone that's done it, because you can't, I'm not saying you can't trust business owners, but you got to verify what you're buying, what you're getting into. So if you're new, because it's easy to make everything sound rosy. Hey, let me show you my furniture store. I'll tell you everything good about it. There's a bunch of bad things about it too. So I would want to talk to someone that's already in the business that would help me. And business owners, Beau, myself, they love to help people. We love to talk about our businesses. I will talk. I'll stay here all day talking about my business if you want to. You're going to have to shut the screen off, because I'll do this all day. So don't be afraid to ask for help. I'd say that's the number one thing. Ask for help from a successful person in your family, friends or family that have no skin in the game. They're just going to help you evaluate from the bank statement to the P&L to the balance sheet to the location to the inventory, all the things you just described, cost of goods sold. Get help is the one thing I would say, because you can make a huge mistake. Maybe it's borrowed money or it's your last money, and that, because you don't want to go out of business.
Yeah. And honestly, like, a lot of people would think, oh, you got to look at the numbers and see what they're doing. A lot of times, instead of looking at the numbers as much, I'll look at the people. I'll look at the culture of the company, see what they're working with, and then see how much demand it's going to take from me. Because as we've gotten older, you just kind of learn, I need to replace myself. So even if I implement myself, I need to replace myself. And will I be replaceable in this company? So we're always looking to scale everything. When we're buying a business, we're not looking for a job. We're looking for something that we can, either partner with someone that's got the attributes that you need to run that company. Even like other companies we've got involved with might be younger entrepreneurs that just need an opportunity, and we see something special in them. And so we've jumped into partnerships with them. But the idea is for them to be implemented into that business. We're going to be partners in it, but we're going to keep scaling and doing the other things that we're doing, and we'll help them to scale and replace them at some point in time if it comes down to it. But the culture of the people, man, you can make money with good people.
Yeah.
No matter what the business is. You got good people, you got a good product, obviously, but you got good people. That's a huge part of it, man.
Right.
Yeah, I love it.
No.
Now, the only advice, like whenever they're asking for help, like, are there any qualifications that they should be looking for? Because I remember a story when I got started in real estate, and there was a client that was buying a property for $245,000. That property is worth like 700 now, and a family member discouraged them from buying that property because he said that the market was going to continue to crash. And I looked at him, I'm like, this is 245, like we're like 0.7 miles from the beach, like how much more could it crash, you know?
Right.
And like sometimes I find that people want to do something and then they get the advice from a wrong individual, and that wrong individual maybe discourages them from like an opportunity. So if you were looking for advice from somebody, are there certain qualifications that this person would need to have in order for me to get advice from them? Because I feel like sometimes people come from a loving place that they want to help you, but also maybe they may not be qualified to give you that advice. So what would you guys
So
look
someone,
for in
someone that would take risks. Like, you ask our attorneys, we wouldn't buy anything. You ask our CPA, our CPA
CFO.
doesn't own anything. Our CFO doesn't own.
Like, they'll discourage us on certain things.
Yeah. So,
Right.
but we do use his advice. We use his performance. We give it to him, and then we make our own decisions. But we do ask. That's a perfect example. We do seek out the advice of people still today. But there's just as many times we do what we want, because we have our life's experiences to understand the risk and go, this is he's obviously a conservative person just in general, from where he lives to how he lives his life. We know he's a very conservative person, would never even want to partner with us in anything. And he's got access to all the knowledge, the books, everything we have, and he would never partner with us. He's never even mentioned it.
Yeah.
Wouldn't even, it's just not there. So someone that has taken risk and understands it. The other thing I would throw out there, and Beau and I are always saying, we're talking about the business or what's best to do first, is our biggest thing is be self-aware. There's businesses that we know we wouldn't be good at. There's people that should not get into business, should not do real estate, because it's a tough grind. You use what's the easy one. Someone asked me that recently, and I thought for a second, I go, I guess I drew the short straw of business. None of my businesses are easy. I love them all, but none are easy. He pulled up in for this right here. I looked at his face. He goes, "Oh my God, he's got a deadline." He's done that. But that's part of the grind. That's part of the fun. He pulled in. I looked at him in his truck. He was just pulling in. He rolled down his window, just like I go, "You ready for this?" He goes, "Oh yeah, man, I'm good."
We got it.
But that's part of the thing. And if you're not willing to put yourself out there and have people, he's under the gun to get this pool done by the 24th.
I got 2 weeks.
He's got 4 weeks of work to do in the next 2 weeks. But that's part of it, man. He's going to have a hell of a story, and he's been grinding at it. But that's how it is. And a lot of people don't enjoy that, or it's too much for them. So I would just also, people that are thinking about business and looking, if it's just entertainment because you like watching people that are in business, then just to realize, oh, it's just entertainment for me. I'm never really going to open a business or something, because you got to look at yourself. Are you willing to miss the ball games? Are you willing to miss this? I've missed so many things that I don't regret it, but it's been the cost of doing business, because you have to be there a lot of times when you would like to be somewhere else. And so
we wouldn't want it any other way.
No, exactly.
I mean,
it's what we do.
We enjoy the pressure of it.
So that's part of it also, as far as evaluating the weight of the business. Look at yourself. How much time are you really willing to put into it? Talk to people that you know that own businesses, and see what it really is like. The rewards come later.
It's funny because I had somebody, and I don't know, I think they're called commissaries, where basically these food trucks go and park, and in California, they basically clean up and they charge up. And somebody offered me one at like 4.5 million, and the numbers look great. But then I talked to a couple of people that were the actual food trucks, and they're like, dude, I don't know if you know this, but most of the people are not paying rent right now. Like, they're behind. And I'm just like, and there's a mess here, there's a mess that. And it's funny because the real estate agent was pitching it really nice to me, but it was actually a lot more work than he's like, oh yeah, they just go in there, they park, and then they do. No, it's not. It wasn't as simple as that. So I'm glad that I talked to them before getting into something like that, because it would have been out of my lane, and it would have been something that I would have thought would been a lot easier. Not only that, but it was out of my lane, because up to this date, I own just retail, commercial buildings, and apartment complexes. So it was a completely different animal that I would have had to learn versus kind of just staying in my lane. So I wanted to ask you guys, like, let's say that, and this is kind of one thing that I look for when I look for properties, I look for ways to add value. Meaning, like, can I add value? Can I improve this property to make it worth more? Even in a business, what can I do to make this business worth more or make it more functional? Are there certain things that you guys do to add value either to properties or businesses? And then we can go into some tips afterwards about finding good people, marketing, and then we're going to transition into the real estate aspect of it. But for now, are there certain things that you guys do to add value to businesses? And yeah,
I would say, like on the real estate side of it, like in buying older, dilapidated buildings, we don't like buying anything fresh and new. We always like to find anything that 30% under market value, and then we like to buy the old shitty buildings rather than the nice, fresh, clean ones, and trying to find a good deal, because we can put together the team, and we're good at construction. We're good at right now we're running at big box stores. So we bought a Walmart in Texas City, Texas. And it was an old shitty Walmart. They got a brand new one across the street. We add value with our expertise in the storage industry and climate controlled storage. And then Mike's brother Dino, that's boots on the ground in Texas, he's the one that can get it turned out. We bought another one in Alabama. He's flying back and forth to Alabama. And where we add value in that business is Dino's ability to be able to turn an ugly box store into a beautiful climate controlled storage. So on that end of it, I think we're good of it, really good at adding value on the real estate end. In business, I think just our expertise from our experiences. And then we don't get into business unless we're in business with like-minded people, and I think we're good at creating a good culture and getting into business with guys that believe in the same thing. It's where I say, like Mike and I, we were best friends for a lot of years. And we talk about it, and we always had that same philosophy, like customers first, employees first, take care of business, and then the money will come. And we're proof of that. And so when we are getting into a lot of businesses, we're not there to just run them on the daily, but we put ourselves with good people.
The other thing on that was we've almost, I mean, I'd say almost, it's probably 100%. We don't ever buy anything unless we can add value to it. We don't pay retail for anything. Retail to me is going to Walmart and buying a toaster. Okay, you got to do that. But if we're buying a piece of property business, we will pass on every single thing we can pull up the listing. We almost don't even look at them because anybody can buy those. And the profit's not there. You're said you're the real estate agent. Well, you've already advised that person. You're working on a commission. You've already told them the top dollar they can get for it. And sure, you can negotiate and you can wait till it sits on the market and then make a lower offer. But that's not how we find 90% of our properties. And we would almost never buy a piece of property unless we've seen a problem. And then we go, okay, this is our angle. So we do the same thing on businesses. If we're going to get into a business, two old guys that own a motorsports store and they've run the race and they never got a website and they never did any social media marketing and they never did this and they never did that. And they're able to do this and they're profitable. Wow. Could you imagine if a team came in that was an expert in social media, was an expert in websites and was an expert in that field, what you could do to a guy's tired old business that was last remodeled in 1985, but was still successful. Wow. There's a huge opportunity in that. So that's what we look for. Guys, ladies that have ran their race, that are tired. And there's times we feel the same way. Come take the keys with this business because we're frustrated or whatever. So you're always looking for an edge, an angle, and we wouldn't buy it unless we could because it's too hard to pay top dollar and then to grind out the small profits and it gives you something to work on, right? I mean, get in there and put your own spin on it.
It's funny. My wife asked me recently, she's like, why do you always buy all the ugly properties? Because those are the ones you make money on, We bought a primary residence and she looked at it and she's like, oh my God, like you're not having us move here. I'm like, I am, but once it's fully renovated, But she asked me, she said, why do you always buy the ugly properties? I'm like, that's where you make the money.
We get the same shit, man. We're so proud of them too. Like even once when we fix them up, they're really not that great looking. I mean, some of them really do, but we think they all are fantastic. We drive our wives around and we show them to them. They're like, we don't want to look at buildings. Let's go to dinner. We're like, let's just go drive by one more.
We're so proud of them. Hey, you want to see them? I'll get my kids in the car. You want to look at this thing? No, Dad, we don't want to see it. Well, we just reskinned it. It looks beautiful. They're like, looks like the steel building next to it. Yeah, you're right. Isn't that nice? But
it's funny. My sister sent me a video of a property that we're rehabbing, and it was like almost like down to the shell. And my comment back to her, I was like, "How beautiful!" Like, because that's what I see. I see beauty, and then she put laugh out loud because that's what I see. I see beauty there. That's funny. Sir. Sorry for interrupting.
No, and the only other thing I was going to say with the buildings that we buy, it is so frustrating starting from scratch. And I'm an impatient guy. I like everything. Let's rock and roll. Let's get on it right now. Well, when hey, let's get ready to build this, 20,000 square foot steel building that we're going to lease out. Okay, start getting the permits. Go down to the city, get it rezoned. Wait 90 days. Oh, there was COVID, so the next meeting's not until this day. Okay, and so what happens is 2 years later, you're like, it's not finished. Whereas if we buy an old building, the soft costs don't exist. The permits have already been pulled as far as with all the plumbing. Everything's already there. The red steel doesn't rot away or anything. So we can just come in and doll it up and you don't have all that time of wasting. And life is short, especially as you get older. You go, how many buildings can we do? Well, you can buy a lot of buildings, but you won't be able to build a lot of buildings because the amount of time it takes and the working with the cities and the counties and the states. I get exhausted. I won't go down to the city. We have people on our team and I can't do it anymore. It's too frustrating.
Yeah, and I think that's something sometimes people don't factor in that process. Like I had a client who's building recently, and I told him, "Look, just so you know, it's not going to be as easy as the contractor's telling you. Like the contractor's making it seem like, oh yeah, like in a month we're going to start construction." I'm like, "No, I've been through this before. Like I've been 5 years waiting for permits in California, and we're barely breaking ground on it. And a lot of times they don't factor that kind of stuff in." But I wanted to ask you, and this is something that I love about what you guys are saying, is that you guys try to find people that align with what you guys are looking for, with like customers first, employees first. Like, how do you guys go about like finding good people? Like, do they just magically appear at your door? Like, do you guys have a formula for that?
I talk to everybody about everything, and I'm always looking and always digging. I mean, we've just found good people by talking, and I'm always looking for somebody, so I'm always putting it out there that I'm looking for somebody. You know what I mean? It's not like I wait till the time where, oh my gosh, I'm going to be missing somebody. I like bringing people and then finding more business to get them involved in, because the people shortage is the tough part, you know. And so if you're always looking, you're always talking. I mean, even like, I mean, from finding good people to finding, you know, investors to finding business partners. Even when I don't have a deal, I'm talking about a deal. I'm talking about the next deal. Would you be interested in the next deal? We might have another deal coming up. If you're interested, I'll hit you up. So I don't even have a deal right now, but I know I'm going to have a deal because we always got a deal.
Yeah.
And then, so then whenever I call you up and I go, hey, we got a deal. You want to talk about this one? Then it's already prepped. So I do the same thing with people, man. You know, even if I go, you know, I drive through the Jack in the Box drive-through. My brother-in-law, he owns a restaurant. We go through the drive-through, and the girl that waits on us is just so kind and just over the top. She's working at Jack in the Box. We go through, and he's telling me on the drive, going through the drive-through, how he's having a hard time finding people. I go, dude, you just talked to that girl. You didn't say nothing. He goes, oh, I didn't think about it. So he pulls around front, parks, and runs inside. He goes and talks to her. But I'm talking to people all the time.
And he's not even telling the story, but to capitalize on that, he's got a story where I think he was talking to me. He's talking to me, and he goes, dude, he goes, I just pulled in. I got a breakfast sandwich at McDonald's. He goes, I got this kid out there. He's like washing the trash can or whatever he was doing. You can finish the story here. Yeah. But he goes, we're talking. He goes, I got to go talk to him, man. That guy, how many years ago?
He still works for me like 6-7 years. This kid was in the parking lot. I'm talking to him. I was embarrassed to say that I was going through McDonald's drive-through. So I'm like, yeah, I just pulled off to the side, and I didn't want to say, hey, dude, hold on a minute. I got to order my
junk food.
Egg McMuffin or whatever. So I'm sitting off to the side, and then I just told him, I go, dude, I got to call you back. He's like, what's up? I go, there's this kid in the parking lot. He's pressure washing the parking lot. He's breaking down boxes and throwing them away. There's no manager out here, and this kid's just kicking ass through this parking lot right now. So I set the phone down. I call him over. Anyways, long story short, he works for me now. He's worked for me like 6 years. So the kid's killer. His sister works for me. His brother works for me. His other brother worked for me. And it's because talking to people, man. Yeah. You can't find good people if you don't talk to people, man. You got to get out there and always be looking.
The other thing about finding good people is we're in business, and you go to Walmart. There's all kinds of personalities out there, but you got to be a good person to attract good people. The people that can't find good people, we have multiple businesses. We have so many good people working for you that I really can't participate in that game because we were very fortunate. We're always looking for more people, so don't get me wrong, but we've attracted some really good people. But honestly, we care about the people that are working for us. We want them to do well. We want our customers to do well. So you got to be putting it out there, the good vibe to get the good people. And the people, the grumpy business owners that we know that can't find anyone. Yeah, but you're yelling at your employees and it's 110 out. Have you thought of a different angle? You know, you're underpaying these people. So you can't find good people because maybe it's you, and we're always looking for good people. So I understand that, but we feel very fortunate, man, to have some really good people that feel like we couldn't live without. So, but you got to be putting off that energy, man, that you're not here just for yourself. You're here for everyone. It's a team, man. Yeah. And you got to believe it and you got to live that way. You can't fake it. You can smell that.
Yeah, man. It's fun winning as a team, right?
That's it, man. And
I love it. So let's transition a little bit into the real estate aspect of it. Like how does running a business and real estate go hand in hand? Because I think that's like the winning formula, to be honest. I think that like business owners that invest in real estate is like, and a lot of them don't realize how much they can go hand in hand. But because I am a business owner, but I also invest in real estate, it's done some wonders for me. So I wanted to ask you guys, like how do those two connect? And what should somebody know if they have their business and they maybe want to get into the real estate market?
I would use an example as a business owner. Let's say you're making, $300,000 a year, and then you got the dentist that's making $300,000 a year, and now you've got your bills covered and you got some investment money. That business owner is so far ahead of the game looking at a good investment in real estate than that dentist. In general, I would say, because he knows or she knows the ins and outs and the smell of rat, to all the things it takes. So I would just say that you're just more experienced on a daily basis. The things you went through today, I don't even know about. It's going to help you identify better opportunities, understand the work involved it's going to take, as opposed to people that aren't in business come to us hey, how do I do that? And they're a lot smarter than we are, I guarantee it, but they just don't know. So small business owners like yourself and like us, it's a little secret. We know a lot of stuff that a lot of people don't know. And as you get older and you realize, you go, guess what? There's value in that. It's hard to draw the picture, but we happen to know just from life experiences and good deals and bad deals. And then when you look at real estate and you put that business mind on it, I just think you're so much better off than the person that is in the corporate world or medical or whatever. They just don't have the edge that you or Beau or myself have. So I agree with you. But
even from the finance side, man, if you're in business, you know how to juggle money. You know how to run broke. You know how to try and hold on to it when you got it. And I think that like a steady income profession type thing, you just don't have the ins and outs like you do in a business. You don't have those rough times, man. We learned a lot through some rough years that have benefited us down the road. You hated them whenever you're going through them, but that's your life experiences, man. We're all just a culmination of our life experiences. We've had a lot of them.
And so when people that, like I said, seem a lot that are a lot smarter than us, they'll come to us for advice, even in our city that we're at. And you're just thinking, you don't really know how to finance that deal. You didn't know that you were going to have to put 25% down, or you're asking us, you don't know what owner finance is. You don't know how to write a letter of intent. You don't know how to do those things. It's interesting that you wouldn't know that by now at your age in your life, but they've never had to know that. And when you're self-employed, you've already negotiated leases. You know how to negotiate a tractor price. You know how to negotiate whatever equipment leases you've done. And so when you go to negotiate on a real estate, you're just taking that same knowledge. That's why when you asked at the beginning of the show here, what's better? Well, if you get good at business and you develop a profit and you live below your means and you got profits here, you're going to be so much better at identifying good opportunities with meat on the bone than the person that just looks, hey, honey, we got a little extra money. Here's some real estate listings. How about this one? That's buying the toaster at Walmart. You're going to pay top dollar.
What about tax implications wise? Does owning real estate help business owners whatsoever?
We get so confused by that. We pay a lot in taxes, man. And believe me, go on any Instagram or anything and hey, don't pay taxes anymore. Guess what, man? If you're making money at the end of the day, believe me, real estate, there's so many different write-offs. There's appreciation, there's depreciation, there's, you can do the 1031 tax exchange. But at the end of the day, there's tax consequences. And believe me, get advice, get help. But there's better people to answer that question than I am, because I just know I write a lot of money in taxes every year and it's frustrating. So
the reason I was asking that is I was introduced to like bonus depreciation, I think probably in 2019, where we were able to write off like a huge amount of the depreciation in year one, almost like bonus depreciation. And when I started doing that, I was like, oh my God, as a business owner and as a real estate investor, those two go hand in hand. Because what ended up happening is that, like, let's say you have $1 million in depreciation, your business makes $1 million. You can, as long as you're considered a real estate professional, it wipes out the entire $1 million in your business, and it makes it so that you can pay $0 in federal taxes. So once I found that out, I was like, oh my God, like these two are actually more connected than I thought. I didn't realize how connected the real estate and the business owners were. So I wanted to ask you guys, and I loved how you answered that question. The fact that, like, because most people would be like, oh, like this or that. And you were like, hey, look, like maybe that's not something that I'm the right appropriate person to answer that for you guys. And I love the transparency on that. So I did want to ask you guys have talked about like being transparent. You guys have talked about like having challenges while being business owners, having challenges in real estate. A lot of times people think that they're going to get into something and it's going to be super easy and they're going to be golfing all day long and that it's all going to work out. What have been some of the most challenging times or situations that you guys have been a part of? And then how has that helped you become the Mike and Beau that you guys are today?
Myself, as far as a little bit later, I've always believed in being diversified. And you can go online and find just as many people to say, put everything, all your jets point in the same direction and then blow that up. But it's helped me mentally, because I think everyone's at a different level as far as what they need. But I knew when I was in the video business, that one wasn't going to be enough money and it was profitable. I go, well, so that's not going to work. So I'm going to need multiple locations. And then as the years went by, I go, okay, there's going to be, I didn't know what was going to happen with, Netflix and whatever was going to, but you kind of knew, people that were in the industry knew that this probably renting these things is going to be changing. And so you better be prepared. And that's where the laundromats came. And honestly, I took a moment to go, okay, first of all, my washing machine broke. I need a place. But I figured, guess what? 30 years from now, you're probably going to be putting dirty clothes in a bucket, agitating it somehow, spinning it, and then adding heat to dry it. I mean, it kind of seemed like that was going to be, because I was getting out of the business because of a technology fear more so than reality, because it hadn't happened yet, but we all knew it was coming. And so I was like, well, I don't want that to happen again. So then I was looking at that. And then the real estate and the different businesses, I've just always believed in being diversified. And I always wanted more than one business. So the people that, lots of like being self-aware, if you just want one pool company, there's huge success. You could blow that up. But I always liked multiple things. And I kind of knew from the beginning, for my first business, I was kind of prepared to be diversified and get diversified. And it's worked out for me, because when some industry drops down, or being in business in Arizona, we fly back and forth to Texas. During the Great Recession, Arizona, the area we lived in, it tanked hard. People, really good business people that weren't being fat guys or whatever, they went out of business, and it was sad. But I was going back and forth to Texas, and the business just dropped a little bit out here. And in Arizona, I had to shut everything off, pull all the levers down, and be the last guy standing, and spent more time in Texas. And that's when Beau and I hooked up and started doing business out there. So it's worked well for me. And I think it's more whatever you're comfortable with. But I've enjoyed being diversified in different states and different businesses.
Yeah. And it's always a new challenge for us too. I mean, we just don't want to get stagnant. I mean, it's great to diversify, but also it's fun to get into the motorsports industry and get into storage whenever we did. And
we have a fabrication shop. We go there, and I don't know how many thousands of square feet it is and how many people are working there, but it looks like guys holding sparklers to us. They're welding. We go, Beau, you know what they're doing? I have no idea. Let's go talk to Greg and Chad. They seem to know what these guys are doing. But
got it going on.
Yeah. But so we own a huge fabrication shop, and we don't know. We never took welding in school, but we own it. But it's so challenging and it's fun, So, yeah.
Last question I wanted to ask you: what is the key to running multiple successful businesses at one time? Because, meaning you guys have different. Most people have trouble running one business and have almost a little bit of chaotic in their life. How do you run multiple different businesses?
Honestly, like I talked about before, is people, having good people, but also you can't expect perfection, man, because you're going to get let down, and we're all different. And for one, I was trying to find the best value that person brings and implement them into that hole in that business, and find out what their strength is. I mean, that's a big part of it. Let people make mistakes as long as they're learning from them, and then acknowledge and talk about it. I love the fact of having good culture in all of our businesses. It allows you to scale, and then whenever you do, when you're always positive and you're bringing people up, then whenever you do have something to discuss, it's not like you're constantly, oh, here's the boss again, he's going to, it's positive reinforcement. And we did have some issues, but how are we going to, address those issues? I think that's a big part of it is empowering your people. Mike's really good at it. I mean, he doesn't have one key to one of his businesses, because he didn't want him to call them ever. He empowers his people. He gives them all the tools. He gives them great training. And then there's no reason for him to have to be called, because he's empowered his people to be able to handle what needs to be handled. If somebody drives through the front of one of his buildings, he said, don't call me.
No.
He goes, call the insurance company, call the police, do whatever you got to do, call a contractor, let's get a bid to get it taken care of. And then after that, you call me and let me know. That's why I put you in this position, and he empowers them. It's not a, thumb down on him. It's one of those things where he's like, hey, you're my guy. Handle it.
Yeah. I don't have one business that I have a key or alarm code for. And I own a lot of businesses, and I couldn't get into one of them. And I've done it from the beginning. The time I opened a second video store, I knew that I couldn't be there also. So I go, here's the key. There's the alarm code. Here's the key. And I don't have one. So if you don't open, I got to call a sheriff's department. I got to call the alarm company. I got to call a locksmith. There's a lot of things to get into any business. In my office, I just don't have a key to one single thing. because I have people that, you give them the power, and you can't be a micromanager. You got to let people fail. And we train and we want them to succeed. And there's, so rewarding, but people are people and no one thinks the same, and everybody's weird. So including me. So let some things play out, and then we'll have a meeting or a chit chat about it. We'll see what we could have done better. We don't have a time machine, so we can only go forward. And it is weird when you give people trust. Guess what? They perform. As long as you're got a good quality person. So we believe in letting people get out there, and then when they do good, you just keep pumping them, and they take your business higher and higher. So it's fun to do that. But like I said, I don't have a key to a single business or an alarm code to a single one.
I love it. I think my key takeaway from this interview, Mike and Beau, was I asked a mastermind that I'm a part of. It's called Collective Genius, and I was raising money for some properties that I had, and I asked them like, "Hey, how do I raise money?" And I expected them to tell me like this fancy thing, like, "Oh, you go do this strategy or that strategy." And what they told me was like, "Look, the money's already around you. You're just not looking for it." He's like, ask the people around you, like, if somebody wants to participate in this real estate deal. And I expected such a more complicated answer than that. And literally, I started making phone calls. I started talking to the people. And sure enough, I found 2 people that were interested. We got the deals done. And it's funny because right now, like, it's the same thing as it relates to finding good talent. It's like there's got to be like this crazy, like, innovative strategy as to how to find talent. And he's like, I just talk to everybody, He's like, and it's so funny because you guys pointed out the person with the McDonald's and the trash cans, and I'm just like, they're already there. You just got to find them, which I think that was like, that was a big thing for me. So any final thoughts, Mike and Beau? And then how can people get in touch with you guys? If somebody liked what you guys were saying, wanted to connect with you guys, what's the best way for them to get in touch with you guys?
Real quick, I guess the final thing would be like you saying about money. I've never not opened a business or bought a piece of property because of money. If you've got, like yourself, just talking to you right now, if you come to us with a really good building that's got a lot of meat on the bone, you seem like a great guy, you've got experience, the money, I'm going to have to get in line to get in that deal is how it feels, because we're going to cut a deal that works for you, works for me. We're going to understand it. So it's not that you can't get the money. You don't have a good enough deal, or you're not a good enough person. But if you're a good person, you got a great deal, you just haven't asked anyone. Go invent a time machine and see how many investors you get. I'll bet you get $1 billion in 3 days. If you have a working prototype of a time machine, how much money could you get? So it's just the idea. And as far as it's the product you're presenting isn't good enough. So if you got someone that has money and is interested, and you bring them a building that's retail, they're not going to want to go in on it. You bring them one that's 30% undervalued with comps to prove it, give us a call, So how do they get a hold of us?
Actually, DM us probably more than likely on Instagram. That's probably the best way to get a hold of us, because our guys standing in the background here, Zach and Jonah, they'll handle it. They'll get back to you or get us in touch with you. That's probably the best way to go about it.
We're posting all the time. We got Mike and Beau out there, and we're getting a lot of great response, and pleasure. People like you getting a hold of us, and we love it, man. And we're having a lot of fun with it, and we feel like we're helping people understand just the meat and potatoes of business. We're no genius guys that got some crazy fast going idea. We're cowboys, and everything's hard. Don't call us if you want something easy. I don't know. I don't have any answers for you. You want to make easy money? Got nothing for you.
I love it. Cool. Well, I want to say thank you guys for obviously being on the podcast. A topic that I may be interested in doing in the future is a climate control storage, like how to turn a Walmart building into a climate control storage. I think that is such a big opportunity right now, because there's so many like empty Targets, so many empty Walmarts. And I think that is something that would add tremendous value. I would be super interested in something like that. So I want to say thank you guys for coming on. For our viewers out there, just thank you guys for taking the time to watch. If you've enjoyed it, make sure to hit that subscribe button. If you feel that this episode would be helpful, make sure to hit that share button. And then if you want to get in touch with Mike and Beau, just go on their Instagram. You can find them at Mike and Beau, and just send them a DM, and they're happy to help. And thank you guys, Mike and Beau. And maybe we'll do the second interview. So thank you guys.
We'd love to, man. Thank you very much.
All right, man. Have a good day.